Hi, everyone. This is the introduction to the Student Founder Program for fall 2021. The Student Founder Program is a community of founders supported by the Duke Innovation and Entrepreneurship Initiative and the Duke Engineering Entrepreneurship Initiative at the Pratt School of Engineering. Our mantra is focus on unleashing creative potential and turn sparks into transformative products and services. This mantra was created by Duke alum Melissa Bernstein, who's also the chair of our board of advisors at the Duke Innovation and Entrepreneurship Initiative. She's the co-founder of Melissa and Doug, which some of you might recognize. It's one of the top 10 toy companies in the world. And she's the creator of over 10,000 products. And part of the point of this mantra is that creativity, in her belief, is the essence of entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial advantage over time, and that a lot of students, a lot of people have trouble actually getting started. They have trouble getting those sparks or those ideas in their head out into the real world and actually making transformative products and services. Melissa and her husband Doug have run the company for over 30 years, and they talk about how they didn't really have mentors when they were starting their company or running their company. So they helped to create this program and created the Melissa and Doug Entrepreneurs Program, which is the selective program after the Student Founder Program, in the hopes of providing mentorship to students as they were starting their companies. So this is a model. There are many models out there for how entrepreneurship works. This is the one that we're using here. So for many of you, you're at the early stages, you're exploring. You're not sure if you have a startup idea that you want to go after. In fact, you might not even know what area you might want to look for startup ideas. And so we call that stage explorers. And it's a lot about exploring and researching things. The next stage we call the innovator stage. So the innovators come up with new ways of doing things, new ideas, new thoughts. And these sparks, as Melissa calls them, hopefully come to you, and they come at random times, and you want to write them all down. And after you have sparks, you want to validate them quickly. Is there a space in the market for us to do this? Has nobody else done what we're thinking of? The third stage is product developers. So product developers are taking those sparks and now trying to actually make products, trying to make a prototype and make these things reality and test them with actual customers. And this is an iterative process, which means you do it again and again, making it better and better. And at the end of that stage, if you have something that customers love, then let's go ahead and build it out into a company if you don't have one already, and let's launch that. Let's get it out there. Let's start selling it and start putting that into people's hands. So the Student Founder Program consists of a lot of coaching. And this is actually different from the courses and classes that many of you take. What we've observed and seen in classes, and I've seen those in classes that I've been a part of myself, are a lot of classes are just content delivery. So students have often told us that they don't like classes because they're just sitting there for 2 hours on a Zoom or in a lecture, just receiving content with very little interaction. So one of the core parts of this program is that it's based in coaching, which is small group interactions, or ideally 4 to 10 students, and one-on-one mentoring as well. It lasts for about 10 weeks. It's a mix of students and stages, and you will be in one coaching group with the same group of people each week. We're taking ideas from Y Combinator, Entrepreneurs Organization, YPO, and a bunch of other sources. And some of the benefits of these small groups: everyone gets a chance to speak and contribute. You get to know each other pretty well. You get to be a little bit more vulnerable, a little bit more authentic, and you get to learn by doing. So by design, the conversations are open-ended. We don't have a syllabus. We don't say, hey, this week you need to learn this, you need to learn that. It's more custom to your own interests and your own process. So the basic weekly agenda for each group coaching session is to check in. Everyone says where they are in their entrepreneurial journey. You might have a request for help, something you need some advice on. And we also have exercise, if time permits, to work you through different ideas. Examples of check-ins include, hey, I made progress. I talked to some customers, or gosh, I'm totally stuck. Or, what I really need is a technical co-founder. Or, hey, I've just decided to change ideas completely. And examples of requests for help would include, what should I be doing next? Or, hey, I think I found a potential co-founder, but how do I know this is the right one? To, gosh, I don't know how to talk to customers. Or just simply, I'm really stressed about classes. And some examples of exercises might include, hey, let's do a mind map and write down all of the topics that you're exploring. Or, hey, let's do some practice customer discovery interviews so you get a sense as to what that's like. Or maybe self-reflective. What are your own strengths and weaknesses? Let's talk about those. And some goal setting, or as Tim Ferriss likes to say, fear setting. So most of you has signed up already for a group coaching slot. And this semester we have different themes for some of the slots. This is so that we can batch students together into a group so that they can benefit from seeing each other kind of in similar stages, working on similar ideas. We also have several groups that are just for any startup here. And a number of you are going to end up in our Friday 3:30 overflow session. Unfortunately, we just have way too much interest from students and not enough spaces. So anybody that is not able to sign up for one of the other sessions is going to be in the Friday 3:30 overflow session. If a spot opens up in one of the other sessions, then we're going to see if some students from the overflow session will be able to end up in one of those other sessions, one of the regular sessions. Okay, so a few other elements of the program. So one-on-one mentorship. For the first couple weeks here, I've been meeting with a lot of you, and we're going to encourage all of the coaches to end up having one-on-one conversations, or in some cases, two-on-one conversations with you. And this is to personalize your learning and personalize your journey here. And most of the coaches are alumni who have been helping with the program for the last 2 or 3 semesters. We also have a speaker series. This will be at 3 p.m. Most weekdays. A lot of the speakers this semester are on exploring different topics. So exploring topics in artificial intelligence, or beauty startups, or medical devices, or how to reimagine education, things like that. So that'll be Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. We'll tend to focus on exploring, and then Thursdays and Fridays will be entrepreneur speaker series, again at 3 p.m. And these are all virtual sessions, and those entrepreneur sessions are going to be entrepreneurs coming in and telling you their stories about how they started their companies. So this is what the weekly schedule looks like. We're heading into week 3 here because week 1 and 2 have been the one-on-one conversations. Week 3 will be introductions and your kind of group coaching sessions, and then coming up with a personalized plan. And then weeks 5 through 10 are mostly around checking in and requests for help and exercises. And the week 11 will be reflections. So Slack is the primary way we share information with each other. And so we hope that you all have joined the Slack and are willing to contribute and ask questions and answer questions. The other thing is that we're going to be using Donut this semester. Donut is going to match you each week with one other person in the Student Founder Program. And we ask that you reach out and have a one-on-one conversation. This is for founder matching. So Donut is going to connect you both, and you both have a conversation, and hopefully after 10 weeks, you'll have talked to 10 people. and have had some opportunities to possibly find a co-founder match. So the manifesto for the program: this is not a class, this is not a competition, this is a community. So we are here to help each other. Additionally, creativity's got to be practiced, and we want you to become fearlessly creative. The second thing is, together we go farther. Founders are, in this case, are part of a team, whereas in the real world, mostly founders are individuals struggling through starting a company on their own. The third thing is that significant problems are urgent, and we don't want founders to wait. We want you to go ahead and get started. You don't have to wait. If you're a freshman, you don't have to wait until senior year to start something. If you're a first year MBA student, you don't have to wait until second year to start something. If you're a PhD student, you don't have to wait till fourth year and your dissertation's almost over to start something. And lastly, culture matters. And we want founders to realize that, you get to create your own culture, and that has a lot of impact on everybody that you're working with. So now I want to transition to tell a story about Melissa Bernstein. I think this story is just a good genesis story for an entrepreneur, and can help you all just think about what kinds of paths you might be interested in taking. So Melissa went to Duke, graduated in '87. She was a public policy major, and she was pre-law. And so she sat down to take her LSAT, and she just couldn't do it. She actually walked out without writing down any answers, because she just realized she didn't want to be a lawyer. She ended up working in investment banking. She networked her way to a job there and did that for a year, and she really didn't like it. And so with her then boyfriend, Doug, they went up to a bed and breakfast up in Massachusetts, and they said, we're not going to leave here until we come up with an idea for starting a company. And so that weekend, they were probably around 22 years old around that time. They decided that they were going to focus in on toys. Their parents and their family members, many of them were educators. And one thing they realized is, there were these great toys when they were younger. And what's happened to those toys? Those toys aren't available, or why aren't they any better? So they started this company, Melissa and Doug, and they started with puzzles. Actually, they started with videos, but they switched over to puzzles and became the top maker of really high quality wooden puzzles. And this was the focus of their company for the first 10 years. And since then, they've expanded into hundreds of categories and have created over 10,000 products, and have ended up reimagining and recreating so many different categories, so many different types of toys that have been stale and lackluster, and they've taken them and made them better. So one mantra that Melissa has for the Melissa and Doug Entrepreneurs Program is, there's one goal, and that's create a product people are clamoring to purchase. And it's really interesting, because when you are in the entrepreneurship space, there are so many goals and mantras out there. And in my personal opinion, I think this is the best encapsulation of the goal of an entrepreneur: create a product people are clamoring to purchase. And if we expand that a little bit, it's create a product or service people are clamoring to purchase or use. That doesn't quite roll off the tongue as well as the first statement, but some of you are going to create products, some of you are going to create services. Some of you are going to create apps that you just want people to use, not necessarily to purchase. They're kind of purchasing it with their time if they're using it. So another thing from Melissa and Doug is that their focus has been on passion, not on making money. They've just wanted to make the best toys that they could, get them in the hands of children, and provide as much value to the children and to the parents as possible. And making money has not been the focus of what they've done. They've done very well financially, but that's been an outcome of the great work that they've put into their toys. Another quote from Melissa, this is one of her favorite quotes, and this is about the mindset that she has in the world, she and Doug have in the world, is discovery is seeing what everybody else has seen and thinking what nobody else has thought. And the person here, Dr. Albert, he won a Nobel Prize in medicine in the 30s. And so she loves this quote. The way Melissa would say it is she can go into any situation or look at any product or service. She can go into a restaurant or just pick up any product that's out there, and she can think about what are the ways that I would improve this product? What are the things that I would do differently? And that's just one example of her mindset of how she's able to be super creative, whether it's looking at a product or just sitting herself, just thinking. One of the things that Melissa says is that she doesn't need anything to be creative. All she needs is boredom. So one thing that I would argue here is that for all of you, whether or not you become an entrepreneur, creativity is going to be your competitive advantage in your career. A lot of the skills for executing and doing things are things that you're going to learn and that a lot of people are going to learn, but that the difference maker is going to be you being creative and outthinking what other people are doing. And one way to think about this is that even if you come up with a great idea today, let's say you come up with a great app and you spend the next year launching that app and it does really well, lots of people start using it, you're going to have to continue to innovate and be creative about your app because other people are going to start to copy you. If you think of like Instagram taking a lot of the ideas from Snapchat, Snapchat can't just rest and say, well, we've got disappearing messages. Snapchat has to continue to innovate. A couple more things. Melissa says that the mindset of an entrepreneur, there's only two traits that you need: optimism and determination. You got to be optimistic that you can make things happen in the world and that the ideas that you have are possible and can be better. And you want to have the determination that no matter what, you're going to keep on fighting and bring this into the real world, even if there are many times that you think you might fail or you might be on the edge of failing. And one of the last things here is that Melissa says, listen, it's really simple. There are two things in being an entrepreneur. There's the product and there's sales. And those are the two things that you want to be great at. And initially, the thing to be great at is product. You want to make a great product, a product that people are clamoring to purchase. So let's dive into some examples of past students that we've worked with from both the Student Founder Program and the Melissa and Doug Entrepreneurs Program. I like to share these examples because it just gives some idea of the breadth of different topics and different ways that students have worked on different ideas in the world. So Suhani was one of our students, and while she was with us, she was debating between creating an ambulance service in India and working with women in the slums of Mumbai, whom she had got to know in high school, to help them to create sanitary pads for women and to destigmatize menstruation with women. And so she created the Meena Mahila Foundation. She was named the 2016 College Woman of the Year by Glamour magazine. And here you can see that she's with Meghan Markle, who, when she got married, said, in lieu of gifts to be, please consider giving to some of these charities, including the Meena Mahila Foundation. Uzoma is one of our students from a few years ago, and he had a job at a big tech company, and he really wanted to start a company. So we started working with him, and he tried a few different ideas, and what eventually worked is this idea in his home country of Nigeria, where what he realized is that there are a lot of farmers who can't effectively turn their crops into vegetable oil. And so he built a factory, and he brought some best practices in and has really transformed this. And the demand is very, very high. A lot of farmers want to work with Uzoma. Closure. This is a company started by Max Stern. One of his close friends at Duke passed away. And a few months after that, unfortunately, some hackers got a hold of his friend's Gmail account and started to send inappropriate emails, spam emails, to the parents, to friends and family, just using it as a spam account. And so the parents reached out to Max and said, "Hey, can you help us figure this out?" And so Max figured it out and has since turned that core idea into business, which is that when somebody dies, it's important to close down their email accounts, their social media accounts, their social security number, any post office boxes that they might have, things like that. And Max has figured out how to make that a service and has helped over 100,000 people be processed in this way. Josh Miller. Josh was a sophomore when we started working with him, and he came upon this idea of using geosatellite data to look at farms to see which parts of the farms were doing well and which parts were doing poorly. And the way they do this is that the plants that are doing well will reflect more light back up to the satellite. And so this way a farmer can know, say, which parts of their farm need more water or might need more fertilizer. Josh ran this company and ended up selling it to Syngenta. James Wu. James came to us his junior year, and he had done some research in a lab at Duke in machine learning, specifically generative adversarial networks. And he co-founded Adaptalab with one of his high school friends who is also into programming. And they tried a few different ideas, but what they ended up coming upon is that hiring managers at tech companies have a lot of trouble figuring out who is really good at machine learning and who isn't good at machine learning. So James's company, Adaptalab, raised $2 million to help companies address that question, so that you can figure out which candidates are actually good at machine learning. Mackenzie Drazen started working with us when she was a student, and unfortunately, when she was a student at Duke, her younger sister in high school was lost to suicide. And so Mackenzie created My Resource to help match students to providers. And it's trying to match students so that it's based on what kind of style a provider might be kind of a best match for that student. She has recently raised $3 million, and she's in over 100 schools. Casper Kubisa was a Robertson Scholar, and with his friend David, who is also in the Robertson Scholars Program, they co-founded Carpe. And this was based on the idea that people with sweaty hands don't want their hands to be so sweaty. And so they went through a bunch of iterations their sophomore year. They had a friend in chemistry who had some experience in chemistry. They did about 30 or 40 iterations of a lotion that could dry hands. And they raised about $125,000 while they were still students. And they've gone on to raise several $1 million and sell millions of dollars worth of product. And they're available in CVS and Targets across the country. And Sam Fox. Sam Fox was a biomedical engineering student and had this idea for actually maneuvering people with low mobility out of the shower and into a wheelchair. And when he was testing that idea with nurses, they said, actually, the bigger problem has to do with moving people in their beds. And so after a couple of iterations, Sam figured out that nurses often have to move patients in their beds to help prevent bed sores and for other reasons to turn patients over. And a lot of nurses actually end up getting hurt. They hurt their backs in moving patients, or it's just very inconvenient because they have to get one or two other nurses to help them move a patient. And so Sam's product is a mat that is under the patient and can inflate in specific ways to actually turn a patient over or to bring a patient up in the bed. While he was a student, he raised $100,000, and he's continuing to work on this idea. Ivana Dumanian, she was a student in the program, and with her co-founder, Gabby, they were both athletes at Duke, student athletes at Duke. Ivana was a rower, and Gabby was a runner, and they both had chronic injuries from overuse. And those were career-ending injuries. And their idea was, hey, could we make a physical sensor that people could put on their body to help them know their form while they're running? So a motion sensor so that people can know how their form is going as they continue to run or work out, and give them information about how to keep their form better so that they can avoid injury. That transitioned into an idea for an app to come up with great recovery exercises for athletes based on their pain, where their pain was, and how strong that pain is. So it's a custom set of recovery exercises for athletes. More recently, Kevin Guessman Clark and Tim Skapek started Protected Pads. So this started when these three football players at Duke did a project to help then quarterback Daniel Jones recover from a collarbone injury. So Daniel Jones was the quarterback, and he got a collarbone injury. And what they did was the standard of care is that you can fix the collarbone by putting in some titanium to strengthen the bone. But any hits to that bone will cause a lot of pain. So usually the player can't return for several weeks. And so what Kevin Clark and Tim did is they 3D printed a very, very hard but lightweight protective pad that gave Daniel Jones free range of motion, and he was able to return within a few weeks instead of having to wait out the entire time for recovery. And so Kevin, Clark, and Tim have taken this idea and are making custom protective pads for lots of football teams out there. Okay, that's it for now. Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you all, and I hope that you will all unleash your creative potential. Come up with as many ideas as you can, write them all down, and then let's learn the process about turning those sparks into products and services that are transformative. Thank you.